go to strip bars, and buy cigarettes if we so deem necessary. I'm Tyler Baker, and Nathan Kennedy here
I
to
like how you
co-host.
did that there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was good.
thank you, thank you. But yeah, so if you ever want to go to a strip club and talk GI Joe, we can do that now, and that's what we're here to do. We're going back to the pit and discussing the battle between good and evil of GI Joe and Cobra,
The
and
never-ending battle.
the never-ending battle. It's like just like classic superhero battles; it'll go on forever. And I definitely want me and Nasty Nate to go back and revisit the show more frequently. We always want to mix it up, but there's so much fun to be had because I know Nathan grew up on this show pretty wholeheartedly, so he's got a lot to say on GI Joe, and as
Just
do
don't
I.
remember a lot of the episodes. I don't
Well,
know.
that's the whole purpose of
Yeah,
this. Is
I know, but most of my memories that are just like stuck up here now is just going to the local pharmacy and picking out a couple Joes because those things were cheap.
Yeah, they were.
They were so cheap. And then the story of when I got my tonsils taken out and going in and out of sleep, and my dad came home with the redesign of Snake Eyes.
Yeah, the fourth Snake Eyes, the blue black kind of ski
Yep.
mask looking outfit. Yeah,
Yeah, it was so cool.
I don't know what I done, and I never came across that in person, like that figure. And I knew of it. God, I wanted it so bad. I didn't actually get my first Snake Eyes till the Ninja Force Snake Eyes came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a
Okay.
long because I just never saw them, and I got that one in Toys R Us in Roanoke. But that one, I have a hard time deciding if that one or the second Snake Eyes is my favorite. Like the one with the visor over the face, with the black suit with the gray bandolier grenades on there, and it comes
Yep.
with timber. It's
Yep.
toss between those two because that blue and black one, God, that was such a badass looking Snake Eyes. Like if you look at that, and you got some of the comic books that feature that prominently, the way he's drawn and given shadow and everything, he comes on like you could not get more badass looking than that version of Snake Eyes. If you look at him in certain issues, like when Slice and Dice come in the new version of Firefly, Jesus Christ, man, that is one badass looking Snake Eyes, man. It just gets heavily overlooked, I think. But
Yeah, I would agree.
yeah, I love that version of Snake Eyes. But it's unfortunate, but it makes sense why he's not such a prominent member of the show. I mean, the comic books, he's he's the most popular character in the comic books,
Yeah.
and used a lot. But in the cartoon, yeah, I know that they had issues like making a mute character, such a prominent spot on the show for children's
Which
animation.
doesn't make any sense. It's like
No,
it's an action oriented show, just that show that his actions speak louder than any words. Like how I think that is a terrible decision. That's a
I think
stupid
so.
decision.
I think so too. And I felt like, as I got older, kind of felt like, well, they could have used Snake Eyes as like kind of that gateway for children that were deaf and had to use sign language. Like to have Snake Eyes, if he does communicate on the show, use bits of sign language for the other, like to talk to Scarlet or Duke or Flint or whatever, so kids that were deaf could understand what Snake Eyes is saying.
Look at you.
Yeah, and that way kids like us are like, Snake Eyes uses
Someone
sign
hire
language to
this
talk.
man. Put him on your
Yeah.
animated show. Let him be a consultant. He's got a million ideas.
Absolutely, man. We can make it all work for everybody. So,
But no, that's actually just a phenomenal idea. Like why they
yeah,
were just like, nah, okay, no, we don't need that.
no, because they touch on like the Scarlet Snake Eyes thing in the mass device, but then after that, like Snake Eyes is just there as a character part of Duke's team or part of Flint's team, or he's on this team, and
Yeah, he's just
used
in the
sparingly.
background, occasionally throwing like a kick or a punch.
Kick or a punch, or like in the Pyramid of Darkness, him and Shipwreck team up, you know. But it just kind of feels like as a kid, you're like, I want to see more Snake Eyes, you know. But it's a shame that I'm pretty sure that was the reason why Snake Eyes was not used as prominently as he was. Whereas like Storm Shadow, instead of fighting Snake Eyes, he's fighting Spirit, which I appreciate more now as an adult than I did as a kid, and Quick Kick, which that's logical to have Storm Shadow and Quick Kick be rivals anyway. But you want to see Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow duke it out and stuff like that too. But God, we ought to devote just one episode to just discussing like the mythology of GI Joe and the toys and the memories of going to the stores, because I know just like you, going to Hills and Kmart were my places where I picked up GI Joes
Yep.
religiously.
Yeah,
You know,
that and the local pharmacy. I need to go to my parents because somewhere my GI Joes they've packed them away somewhere in storage. I knew where they were at one point, and I'm like, they're not there anymore. They moved them somewhere else. I need to get those. Just maybe go through them. If I can find them and we do that show, I'll just sit the bin of them right in front of me and just dig and hold up each one that I have.
yeah. When you do, let me know because I'll come over and I'll go through them with you, man. And it's like, do you know who this is? You're like, no.
And then you'll take them and put them in your pocket.
I was like, well, if you don't know who he is, well, clearly he's worthless to you. I know who he is, so I'll just put that in my pocket there. But yeah,
I won't miss him at all.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah, so you got a great collection of Joes too. So
yeah, and I kept most of the
file cards.
Yeah,
it makes me sick.
I need to get those out too. But today's episode is Cobra's Creatures. What was the inspiration for this? Was one of the choices. You gave me two choices. Ultimately, I picked this one, honestly, based off of the name alone, because I'm like, all right, this sounds really interesting. And I, just don't remember. It's not locked tight in my brain.
This one was one that I didn't never remember the title as a kid, and I wish I had, because I used to wonder, how come this episode's not VHS? And it was on VHS. I just didn't recognize, because the VHS cover's got one of the grunt pilots being attacked by the locust that you see in the episode, and it just didn't register to me that was the same episode as a kid. Because I remember getting into GI Joe in '88 and watching the cartoon, but not really registering who was who and everything like that until I think '89, '90. That's when I really started, watching the Sunbow series, what we're reviewing today, religiously, on top of the Deke series, where they were featuring the more new lineup of GI Joes. So USA was playing both shows simultaneously. You didn't know what you were going to get, but it was just taking in all this and taking in all that, and it was an episode that I thought was so cool because of just like many episodes, but this is one where it's just like Cobra's stationed at just an old castle. I always thought that was so cool because towards the end of it, Snake Eyes and Spirit team up to infiltrate this castle. And as a kid, I just remember that being so cool. And they approach the moat, and Spirit says there's piranha in there. And I thought, oh, wow. I just thought it was such a cool, night scene of them trying to infiltrate this Cobra castle. God, I would love to see that in a movie. That was one of the things when we went and saw that piece of shit Rise of Cobra movie. For years, I'd always had it in my head of this sequence of Snake Eyes infiltrating a Cobra castle, scaling the walls, sneaking around, and back kicking Cobra officers in the neck, and sneaking around trying to get in there somehow to take out Destro, Storm Shadow, whoever. But this scene kind of resonated with me as a kid. It's just, I thought Snake Eyes going into a Cobra castle, I just thought was so cool. And not that it's a big sequence, because they don't come in until towards the tail end of the episode, but it's still I just thought it's a fun episode. And I love the Mutt Junkyard storyline in this, being a dog lover, and you are as well. To think that you had to fight your own dog out in the swamps, and then have to fight off an alligator to save your dog that's being brainwashed. Yeah. Jesus Christ, man. I'd go out there to fight a gator to save Roscoe or Hobo or Odie or whoever was, in my time of dogs. And I would do the same for your three dogs as well. So it's but that pulls of the hot screams there. And I figured with Ripcord being in the episode too, you might get a kick out of that.
We should make sure we tag Keith in this.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was a fun episode as a kid. Like some G.I. Joe episodes, some of the plots are really outlandish, but then again, too, Cobra wouldn't be Cobra if they weren't trying to conquer the world by using some of the most out of this world schemes, from crazy perfumes to using the Dreadnoks as a rock band to use subliminal messages to turn people into zombies and slaves and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of crazy plots and concoctions Cobra comes up with, and I just think it's a fun episode. And I'm hoping it wasn't like Nathan's like, why the hell did he pick this? I picked the other episode, which was Arise, Serpento Arise Part 1, because, I'm hoping you'll want to do that one too, because that brings in a lot of the new characters of 86, the new Dreadnoks. Sergeant Slaughter shows up for the first time in that show, and the Bats show up. Dr. Mindbender shows up for the first time. It's an episode where they're just bringing in a lot of people that we all associate with GI Joe in that first episode. Like they're all in that first episode and go on from the series on out. So that there was reason behind that one. And but I was just like, either one I thought would be fun to do, but that's why I threw that one at you too.
Well, yeah, I mean, we will get around to that one. I think I looked at it, I'm like, well, that one's obviously a two-parter.
No, it's a 5-parter.
Well, whatever. you see the part one, and I'm like, all right, well, obviously, if we do this, it's gonna have to sort of almost be in succession, probably close together. We would kind of have to not have so much like do part one and then come back to part two. We'd have to do it soon, like to wrap
we
it
could
up
do it like almost every other week or something like that.
Yeah.
But I figured you'd get a kick out of seeing the episode and revisiting it and realizing just how many characters are showing up for the firm in that episode. Like, it's a pretty jam-packed episode of setting up, the coming of Serpentor and the Cobra Bats and Sergeant Slaughter showing up, Sci-Fi, Leatherneck, Wetsuit, General Hawk, Beachhead. I mean, it's pretty heavily jam-packed with a lot of great kick-ass characters. Like the new Dreadnoughts, like Thrasher and Monkey Wrench show up. Xander and Zorana show up for the first time. It just gets you all pumped, man, with all those kick-ass characters in there. So, but anyway, but we're here to discuss Cobra's Creatures here today, people. So,
I'm gonna, before we jump into it as well, I got the complete series of this, and I was cracking it open to be like, all right, yeah, I'm looking on here, Cobra's Creatures, season 1.1, disc 4, and I open it up, and there is no, it doesn't say disc 3 or 4 on these. It says like disc 11 and 12. What had happened was they put all of the discs in the wrong one. So I had to go through and open each of them, be like, all right, well, this and this go here, this and this go here. And I was like, oh my God.
You got the box set too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I was really worried at first because I was like, oh God, do I have like some weird defective? They fucked this up really bad. Like I'm missing discs now, but no, they just put them all in the wrong cases. So, I'm
glad you did find it and it wasn't some botched, version.
Man, because like the disc art is different too. Like the first couple just sort of have them like this, and then as you go through later, like I think after these first 5 or 6 discs, after that it's kind of more in the art in the vein of what you've been changing your cover photos to.
Mm-hmm. Like the card art.
Yeah, so I was looking at it and I was like, oh no, it's just it was a sigh of relief. I'm like, all right, everything's here, everything's good, just wrong cases. So
they did that to me with one of the when I rebought or I bought the second release of the He-Man on DVD series. Like the episode guide list was completely off of what was like the disc order was in and stuff like that. So I would bounce around like this is on this and this is on that, and so I guess it does happen.
Yeah. All right.
But as long as they're all there, you can't argue with so much. So
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this. No links down below because Daily Motion's just it's shitty about some stuff. Like Batman seems to be the most consistent thing, but everything else, and I think they're even starting to crack down on that. But everything else is just sped up or slowed down. I just don't want to interfere with any of that.
On Daily Motion, but they pack in so many so many ads.
Yeah.
In one 22-minute episode of G.I. Joe, I'm like, I don't remember this being that many commercial breaks when I was a kid. Like, but
so I won't provide the links below, but if you want to take the chance on Daily Motion to join us on our commentary, feel free. If you have the disc around, pop that in.
And you have the VHS, pop that in too.
Yeah, I mean,
the old FAG home video release.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, you remember those?
Yeah,
because the first they had like the big boxes. And
yes,
then they had the smaller ones. Yeah.
Or
Pete Creek Mercantile had a bunch of those.
Yeah, I think we rented one once because you're like, I gotta rent. Check this out, it's awesome. And I'm like,
Revenge of Cobra. Yeah, because oddly enough, like a lot of those tapes were not available in my area. Only certain G.I. Joe tapes were able to rent. So to see the Revenge of Cobra, I'm like, oh my God! Like, and I never had seen her. This was in our senior or 11th grade or 12th grade of high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a big deal to me. That little VHS store, like Nathan had no idea the gold mine that was over there. He was like, "Huh."
No, I
It
mean,
just
I knew they had a lot of shit. I wasn't paying as much attention then to the animated section that they had. For me, it
yeah,
was
yeah. I guess that was why I came along and you know shows you the path to glory. That all that great stuff of He-Man, She-Ra, and
well, yeah. You just sort of
G.I.
like,
Joe, the
well,
Transformers. Yeah,
you sort of just reopened that love for these things that was sort of in a not too distant past, but I kind of put it behind me for a while. So it was nice to just, oh yeah, I remember this, and then just really get into it and the toy hunting and all that
yeah.
stuff in that time
Good
period.
stuff, man. Just helps solidify that friendship. Just
Yep.
you know, tighten that bond there due to the greatness of the '80s. All right, guys, I'm gonna count down from three, and we'll head into battle here. 3, 2, 1, play. Beautiful intros here.
Man, that ship is like that awesome.
Yeah, everything about Cobra is awesome. That's why as a kid, I think I had more Cobra characters because I just found them to be more fascinating visually, and I would just want to have like just a couple of really kick-ass Joes to go in and beat up on Cobra because it was more fun to collect Cobra to me as a kid. Just because
I think
all of
it's
them.
always been cooler to collect the villains.
Yeah, because most times the villains are typically more visually striking because you can get away with so much more with the villains. Whereas, Joe, I mean, Flint's always been one of my absolute favorites, and of course, Snake Eyes being my absolute favorite. And I mean, because as the series would go on, they get a little bit more elaborate, but still they would be a lot more human based, I guess, in their style. Whereas Cobra, like you got stuff like the Range Viper, the Toxic Viper, the Night Viper, the regular Viper, Crop Master, Big Boa. I mean, you can really kind of get outlandish with their visual designs and stuff like that too. Even though all of them are still human underneath their outfits and stuff, but visually it's like, oh man, look at this guy.
I think this is an interesting concept here that we have a dog also
Yeah,
in the plane, and they're gonna
excuse me.
and they're gonna eject him out. I'm like, damn, can you imagine like what's going through that dog's mind when that does happen? If that were ever a case that they did that in real life.
Which I mean, if they put chimps, in outer space situations, I guess why not have a heavily trained, junkyard dog, that works heavily alongside, one of the Joe operatives or Joe or operatives, employees, whatever you want to call them. I mean, it comes off as kind of silly, but not completely ridiculous. In this day and age, to see dogs
I just
skateboarding and
imagine the
stuff.
dog's like up there and just like shitting and pissing himself, and it's just like,
Well, it probably would be, but this is Junkyard, man. Junkyard is not afraid of nothing, dude. And I love Flint. Flint. I always preferred Flint over Duke. Even as a kid, I'm like, Flint's a Green Beret. He's a badass.
I like his voice too. I just want to throw that out there. It's just I don't know. It's
a commanding voice. Like that's a voice that I would follow in the battle. If someone's talking to me just like Quint, hell yeah, I'll do it, sir. Get this laser netting here. And Cobra's latest plot is underway. Now, as when you go back and revisit, are you finding yourself familiar with like CoverGirl, Doc, Breaker, Scarlet, Duke, Flint, Lady J, like, and he's this awesome castle. I just thought it was so cool that Cobra stationed so many bases in these old abandoned castles.
Yeah, no, like when I see him, I'm like, oh yeah. It's starting to come back. I like how he bounces back and forth between scientists and Dr. Lucifer.
Yeah.
I think it's like he talks to him depending on how the situation's going. When it's not going well, he just calls him scientist. And it's just it's a fun concept. It's like, all right, the scientist has created this device that can control all the animals and make them do what you want them to do, and that's just man, as we will see here, very dominant ways to stop most things.
Which, you know, and if you're a dog lover or an animal lover in general, and you've taken care and love a dog, you may think like, why is this such a prominent storyline? But, you know, watching this as an adult, like the Mutt Junkyard storyline, you know, I couldn't imagine striking Roscoe or any other dog that I've owned or anybody else's dog, even if the dog is trying to attack you. Like, you do struggle with that. And some people say, "Oh, I kicked the dog's ass." You know, all right, Captain Redneck. You know, I feel like, let's put you in that situation. You know, obviously you got a bunch of spineless bastards who would cause harm to dogs no matter what, and they all should be castrated with rusty fishing hooks. But this storyline too, I think it's a great storyline because these two are never seen without each other, and it's you've got a bunch of little storylines in this one episode, and this is such a great storyline. And you feel bad because he's howling in pain and discomfort, and he's become a agent of Cobra now. And it makes sense too to like that the writing for deliberately we're going to use a dog that works for the Joes. If we can control that, then clearly this machine works, and it's a great plot point to include Mutt Junkyard in this storyline to kind of help push the severity of this device. And there's Ripcord, Keith's favorite, right?
Yep. Oh man, it makes you realize what a disaster the films were.
Oh, I know.
But no, well, this is a cool part of the episode, even though it is kind of tough for dog lovers. Just the hunting, like he's running away from his own dog. He knows what's going on, and as we'll see, like they get into various scenarios where he doesn't want to hurt him, but he has to kind of survive.
And I mean, because you would believe too that he's being forced to do this, is not aware that he's doing it, and that it could be stopped. So that's why you feel like I can't kill my own dog, even if whatever.
Well, I mean,
like you can still
he's doing everything. As we'll see, he's doing everything in his power not to really harm him that much. He just wants it to be over, and as we see towards the end, like he kind of just gives up. He's like, "All right."
Yeah, because it's they've been taken to an area, because Cobra's got bases all over the world, and obviously they don't know the terrain that well. So for Mutt and Junker, they're just wandering around a swamp that you're just trying to find safety. So it's not like he can run to the nearest town because you don't know where you're at. And just because you don't want to, I wouldn't want to leave my dog behind either. But it just makes it a good, compelling storyline. And Cobra Commander too throughout the step. Oh God, see, you feel bad for Junkyard when he goes through all getting hit in the head by that tree, and later on the big alligator fight in the swamp. But I will say, like, Cobra Commander, unlike some animated shows too, is written consistently. Like, no matter what the plots are, his persona never changes. Like, he's a real lovable evil bastard, like in every sense of that. Like, you love him so much. Like, how can you not like this guy? But the guy never shies away from being just all out evil, all out for himself. He's one of the most perfect villains. I mean, next to Skeletor and Hordak and Megatron and Mom Ra, I mean, just sheer perfection in terms of evil.
I kind of wonder.
There's no gray areas. He is completely evil, people, the way all villains should be.
I kind of wonder, how much do these Cobra Troopers get paid? What are their benefits?
I've often thought about that as well too.
It's if one of these plans does work, is there like a kickback to them, like do they get X amount of whatever? Is it like if we control this, this, and this, then you guys will have like this land that you can divide amongst yourselves? I'm really kind of curious. Oh, because what's the incentive? Because there has to be one to join up with Cobra Commander. It's not just like, well, is it the bonding of you just want to see the destruction of humanity? You just want to be evil? Like,
I've often thought too, and I don't try to like look at here's the cover of the VHS cover coming up here, but I've often kind of thought too that I'm sure not that it's focused on much, but well, like when not Joker Cobra Commander hires the Dreadnoks, he pays them pretty heavily, so and they're mercenaries, so they're going to be requiring a big pile of cash anyway. But I'd like to think that all the operatives that work for Cobra, they're probably paid pretty well, and I'm sure a lot of them are doing it for the money. I'm sure some of them are doing it for the cause, because I'm sure some of them they're probably told otherwise. Much like with most, tyrannical
terrorist organizations, yeah,
yeah, where they not that I'm saying that Cobra's like a cult, but I guess you could kind of consider Cobra a cult because it is a terrorist group.
Yeah, I mean,
but
do you think it would tread into that territory of, if you join Cobra, it will give you some sort of like afterlife salvation kind of thing? I wonder if there is like. I know we're digging too much into it, but
I think it's fun to think about that. I wouldn't want to explain, but to me, I just have always seen Cobra Commander is strictly as a mad dictator. He's not trying to convince people to, if you devote yourself to Cobra, when you get to heaven or get to the pearly gates or wherever it is, that he's telling them that you will receive this in the afterlife or something like that. Like it's just feel like these are people who are hired for the money and are behind the cause. And I imagine, the cause probably at times is kind of tweaked a bit. That's why I think one of the characters like Mercer, who's a former Cobra Viper, I thought he was such a fascinating character, and there should have been more done with him. But I liked it. It's just we're just out to rule the world. They don't have a religious belief behind it as motivation. It's just strictly this guy, which I still believe. As much as I like the G.I. Joe cartoon movie, I don't believe the idea that he's just like a citizen of a lost civilization. Like to me, he is strictly human, very charismatic, and has had a lot of connections to get funding for this. And that's another thing. We always see Cobra lose for the most part in all these episodes. But however, they've got all these bases built all over the world. They've captured certain areas. They own certain places. All this technology, like Cobra is succeeding in ways that we're just not seeing emphasized a whole lot. They're just losing, to G.I. Joe a lot, which is, that's what we're supposed to see. But I feel like they got to be doing pretty good somehow because they continue to keep, building new territories, new equipment. They're getting funding, so someone is funding this. Which they kind of touch on that idea in the Cobra movie, but I like to think it's more human based for the most part, even though the show takes a few liberties here and there. But I don't like to think of them as like they have like religious beliefs and stuff like that pushing it.
I know. I mean, I don't either. I think it's just interesting to think about, and just in deeper detail of what could be going on. That's not very touched on ever at all.
Oh yeah, but I think it's just fun to think that what, all these guys are just all pricks, and they just decided to join up for the money and wreak havoc because that's the cool thing to do. And I'm glad that it's not really explained all that much, because you dig deep in some of these mysteries, it takes away a lot of the glamour and imagination of what could be. Because fans of all this stuff, we all often think about, where does Boba Fett come from? This and that, and then some idiot decides, hey, I want to make a movie out of that.
No,
it destroys the idea.
Yeah, it's always a terrible idea.
Yeah, so I say just leave it alone and just think about it. But and as a kid too, as we see, one of the coolest things about G.I. Joe is they've got a lot of female characters in the show, and they're all portrayed very strongly, as we see here. One of the top tier, Scarlet. you know, she gets captured here, but it shows this woman can kick ass, and she does all the time. Just like Lady J was her and Scarlet. I loved them to death as a kid. I thought they were great characters. I didn't see them as like, oh, the girl characters. I wouldn't want them. Had I had the opportunity to get a Scarlet and Lady J, I'd gladly taken them. Because you didn't feel like that they were, those are girls. I can't play with girls. That was the cool thing about G.I. Joe is all the women were portrayed very, very strongly.
Well, I mean that was the cool thing. Well, that was the cool thing about not only this, but He-Man, and then also when She-Ra came along. Like there were a lot of just strong female characters sprinkled all throughout these shows. Like even I would even go as far as saying April O'Neil. Like, yeah, she was damsel in distress, but she held her own when she needed to.
And she was smart. And yet, when something like Wonder Woman comes out, oh, see, we've never had a franchise that focuses on strong women before.
Oh, it's like, oh, okay, yeah,
let's just forget about what's done in the past. It's all about now. It's like our first black superhero, Black Panther. Forgetting that, well, we wouldn't have superhero movies if Wesley Snipes playing Blade came along and kicked everyone's ass at the box office.
Yeah, Snake Eyes.
Yeah, him and Spirit. It's like that should have been a duo, or just Flint, Spirit, and Snake Eyes. Like, God, that's a trio I could get behind. I don't know if you ever saw it too, but when Hasbro did the Pursuit of Cobra line back in like 2010, they redesigned Spirit to look like Billy from Predator.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, and I owned the figure. God, it's a badass looking figure, dude. Oh, it's so cool.
A little foreshadowing right there with the spider web of what's to come
there.
Man, just thinking about that right now, just no.
Yeah, if you were chained to a wall, I mean, spiders don't bother me, but I certainly want hordes and thousands of spiders crawling all over when I'm chained to a wall. Yeah, that drives me nuts.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I don't mind snakes, but spiders bother me a lot, and I know
I hate snakes.
Yeah,
I hate snakes.
Yeah, it's usually the opposite for a lot of people.
Yeah.
No, just haven't.
And those are big spiders too, look like tarantulas almost.
Yeah.
And they're on another part of the world, like in the swamp. I mean, there's probably like poisonous spiders like coming at them right there. God Almighty.
Nope.
Like red giant spiders like that, yeah, they got to be poisonous. I love this background here. Like I always seeing the swamp pop up in G.I. Joe because it looks very moody and it's great atmosphere, and plus always makes you think of the Dreadnoks too, since they live in the swamp. Here he comes, and you just never get tired of this storyline. Like it just feels like it goes. Oh God, heartbreaking. I always hate hearing a dog yelp. And just realize that, oh God, giant gator. Now that image just gets to me. Yeah, I'd be doing this. Kick your ass. You're just punching the gator. That's a real Joe, man. God. See, it's only a shame we didn't have Crocmaster at this time, because clearly Crocmaster would have been the one behind sending that gator out after Mutt and Junkyard. I love Crocmaster. Such a badass.
And even through all of this, like he's still willing to run up to him and try to take care of him.
Yeah, because it makes it a good, compelling storyline. That it's not going to stop until one of them's dead or Cobra is stopped. And I love seeing our Night Patrol here.
Yeah, it's a kick-ass team,
isn't it?
I'm gonna say real quick too hello to JSP for joining us live. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, buddy. Your food.
Oh boy.
I'm going to throw this out to you. With Spirit being here and how sensitive our culture is today, do you think people would think it's racist? at all.
I don't see why, because dude, you're acting as if like people who are Asian or people who are Native American or people who are black or whatever, like, they're not. Spirit's portrayed as a very, very strong, very smart, and very skilled fighter. Working for GI Joe, he's a very beloved character. He's used prominently in every episode he's featured, and he's used is like a big part. Whether he's fighting with Storm Shadow or teaming up with Snake Eyes here, he's not. They're not using to poke fun at like stereotypes of the Native American culture. He's wearing, his traditional headband, but he's not wearing like a headdress or anything like that.
Right.
He's wearing pants that with tassels on them. But
I like that part right there where they're punching guys. You're actually seeing like some blood spatter.
Oh yeah,
like coming out. That's a good touch.
G.I. Joe never shied away from punches. Like, you'd see plenty of punches, and then you would see blood in the G.I. Joe movie more prominently. But it was cool that, if they're going to fight, no one may die, but you're going to see, like, you're going to see fists, cracking skulls left and right. And that's thanks to the guys like Buzz Dixon, yes, and a lot of the other guys who worked on the show that, we can't pretend like, we can't have a show about war and people not get hurt, which is one of his things that he felt should be, because he actually wanted to show people dying on the show and to let kids know that, look, war is not something to be taken lightly. Like, people do die in war.
Yeah.
It's just fun to see Cobra Commander just, only this would happen to him.
Yeah. Turn the dial, damn it. Turn the dial.
I love when he gets so upset, because Chris Latta, who does his voice, God, man, that guy should be given an Oscar for his performance as Cobra Commander.
Yeah, let's see right here. It's like, I'm beat. Get it over with. And it's just...
Yeah. Just
right
in time there.
Just in time.
And that's what you want to see. Look at his tail, a little nub tail wagging. And all the animals have now retreated back to their respective habitats. Yeah, it's a fun classic episode, and it showcases a lot of good characters, and it's just I think it's just one of the better episodes. I mean, there's a bunch of great episodes though, not just that, because there are. This G.I. Joe, even if some people might find some of the plots a little outlandish, like, the characters were written very well, they're treated well. I mean, the villains were always written to perfection. They have to take a few liberties here and there, because if they can't show like traditional war scenarios, people dying and getting in, stuff like that. I mean, they touch on injuries and stuff like that, but it's about having fun. I mean, nor do we really need to see blood and guts in a G.I. Joe cartoon anyway. It's not necessary. We're here for the characters. We're here for them fighting each other, and seeing Storm Shadow cut down a giant pillar on Footloose using the sword of Excalibur.
Yeah, no, the end credits are always like just fun to watch the difference.
Yeah, because as a kid, me and Derek was like, wonder what that episode is. Because there were so many episodes that we never got to see as kids, even though USA, and that's how me and Derek watched them, was on the USA Cartoon Express. And there were still a bunch of episodes we would never see, and just see, snippets of them. Like, wonder what that episode is. Like, it was, I think, not until DVD when I finally got to see the episode Excalibur, where Storm Shadow, has the sword of Excalibur that you see in the end credits there. You're like, God, man, what's that episode about? Because we didn't see Storm Shadow that much in the cartoon as kids, because it was just kind of blind luck. If you have to see him in the background or something like that, they just that's why I people that were older than me or older than us, they got to see G.I. Joe from its inception and go on. So all these characters, all these older characters, they were all discontinued when you and I are coming along. And you see them in the reruns, like, I can't get Tomax and Xamon. I can't get Zartan or Storm Shadow. Where's Flint? And they're releasing all these new characters, but you're still seeing the old cartoon, and they're showing up in the comic books. Like, where's my Flint figure? Where's Snake Eyes at?
Isn't that shitty?
It was, but I mean, it didn't. They were still releasing a lot of great characters, though, as you and I well know. But I managed to get a hold of some of the like Xander and Zaymont. My mom's best friend, her daughter was a hardcore GI Joe fan. Like she was a big tomboy and just loved GI Joe. Like she had a bigger Joe collection. Like she rivaled a lot of guys with her GI Joe collection. She had an extra Xander and an extra Snow Serpent. And I think she's the one that gave me a Zaymont from Tomax and Zaymont, the Crimson Twins. So that was my way of getting some of the old discontinued figures, because I think she had doubles of them because she had so many GI Joes. I'm like, oh my god, like it was unbelievable. And so it was so cool to see some of those characters for the first time that I'd only seen like pictures of or kind of in the cartoon, I guess, at the time as a kid. So, but that's Cobra's Creatures there, people. Nathan, what else you got to say about our trip back to G.I. Joe headquarters?
Most of the stuff that we touched on throughout the episode, it was cool that so many different things are going on at once. And that seems to be a running theme that we've had on this show with the episodes that we do pick. That each of these episodes, there's 2, 3, sometimes more, just other story arcs happening within the episode, and it all comes together. And I'm like, man, they did so much in 20 to 22 minutes, and it just seems like that is something that is missing a lot now. Instead, it's more like, in your face, look at this,
It's funny. Oh, it's junk crap. In this morning.
Yeah,
it's a shame that the action adventure genre of kids animation, if it's not some sort of kind of anime goofball off the wall nonsense, or something that's just all about really dumbed down stuff where you just kind of feel like, and I guess that's just what some people say, that, oh well, we us fans, we don't know what we're talking about, and that kids today, they don't want the action stuff. They want bright colors and silliness and fart jokes and booger jokes and and stuff where they're singing and dancing and stuff like that. Well, we had some of that in the 80s too, but to have so many action oriented stuff and it just kind of fades away, it's a shame that they got Transformers, but it's just not it's just a shame. I get a real joy when I was coming back from the lake, I think like 2 years ago, and I saw, I think, 4 kids out in the front yard playing. They all had toy guns, and they were holding one kid hostage, and he was on his knees with his hands behind his head. I'm thinking, I just wanted to go up and shake those kids' hands like, you kids are badass. You guys are going to be all right. You're going to grow up to be really smart because you're having imagination and you're playing like a couple of badasses right now. It was so cool to see. You just don't see kids do that.
Yeah.
So it was really neat to see kids, reenacting some sort of war or behind enemy line scenario. I just thought that was really cool to see that.
I mean, it's a shame. Technology sort of taken over, and it makes it easier to
keep your kids occupied by handing the damn phone.
Yeah,
they can play the latest nonsense game that you downloaded, so that way you don't have to tell your kids to go outside and play. Oh, they skin their knee. Well, I better write a letter or go on social media and criticize to my congressman about, we got to start changing the ways we build, our driveways here, because my child skinned his knee up, and I can't have that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's reaching a point of ridiculousness, really.
Can you imagine, like, the mindset of a parent today that wants to take time to go on some sort of tirade about, oh, my child? I mean, of course, they did it back in the 80s because they were.
No, I mean, they did. I think what makes it worse is just social media enables anyone to have a voice and opinion. And while that's not a bad thing, it overblows a lot of situations, just takes mountains out of molehills. It's not a. Society today as a whole is just, it's weird, and it's also strange to think about too, because most of the parents of these kids are around our age, and what got lost and what made that I don't see what ends up missing here, because if I were to have kids, I would think about how I was raised and what I had available at the time. What I want my kids to play, yes. Like I wouldn't be one of those ones like, well, here, take the phone, take the DS, take whatever, and do that. Occupy yourself. I don't know. Maybe a lot of it's just laziness on behalf of the parents. Now I don't know. There's not like one certain thing, but something's got to change with that. People need to stop being so easily offended by things. It's like, yes, there's going to be things that you don't agree with or even like, and it's all right to have an opinion about those, but if people just take it too far a lot of the times, and it's just a terrible thing. Like, people go on the internet and purposely are dicks just to be dicks because they get a laugh out of it.
Because it's I mean, we've taken that whole idea of like everyone is entitled to have an opinion, but now we've allowed everyone's allowed to force your opinions on other people, to impose your will on others simply because, oh, I don't like that. So I think you need to change the way you raise your kids or how you live your life because, well, me, Tyler Baker from Radford, Virginia, decided I don't like how you do that. So since social media enables me to have a massive voice, I could shut down Hallmark because I found that particular greeting card for Mother's Day quite offensive. So therefore, they're going to go, oh, we have one squeaky wheel. We're going to change the way we cater to Mother's Day because some asshole decided. I find that to be rather offensive, and it gets my panties in the bind, and I don't even wear panties.
Yeah, it's just anything these days. That's why I kind of brought that up with Spirit. I feel like someone watching the house was like, well, that's offensive. It's like, all right, to a degree, could it be? Sure, I guess.
No, I don't think so at all.
Well, I'm saying if you look at it from he's talking a certain way. It's like it just, people dig too much into things. It's like, just whatever, let things be. Just have common sense. We've said this before many times on Retro, and I think a couple times on here. Just let people do their thing, have common sense, and just kind of get along a little bit. I'm not saying you have to like each other. Just get along.
Well, I mean, I look at it this way: like Quick Kick, who is a very, he's an Asian character. He's not walking around talking like Jerry Lewis and Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like, he's talking like a guy. He's talking like, just a guy. And I think the guy that voices, I can't remember what his name is, but it sounds fitting. And I mean, to me, Spirit is not talking like him go that way, Snake Eyes. Like,
it's not like a Lone Ranger stuff. Yeah.
No, he's not talking like Tonto. He's talking with a bit of a Native American accent. But to me, it's like saying people from China don't have an accent, or people from the South don't have an accent. Like, he should have an accent, but he's not talking with his arms like this and a big headdress. That would be a bit ridiculous. And I could say, okay, that would be somewhat offensive. But that's also like pretending like people of Native American, cultures didn't have certain mannerisms and stuff like that. Not to say they would, what goes on today, but people need to stop pretending that, just because they don't act like you. I don't know.
We're kind of just veering off in a
Point is, Spirit's a kick-ass character, and I think if of course, if I had my way, he'd be portrayed like Billy in Predator. Because if you look at it, that first Predator film depicts a lot of the prominent joke characters. Like Blaine is like Gung Ho, Jesse Ventura. Billy is like Spirit. Mac is like Roadblock. Poncho could be like Dusty or Tunnel Rat.
Yeah.
Dylan is like Stalker, and of course Arnold is like Duke or Flint or whatever prominent character you want to make. I mean, if they'd have cast those, like, that should have been a G.I. Joe movie. Like, if we didn't get a Predator film, that's G.I. Joe. And you know what? They didn't go the whole, they got to wear all black because that's cool bullshit. All of Dutch's team are wearing different outfits, but it shows they're part of Special Forces, just like G.I. Joe. They're all Special Forces, but they're all wearing a very distinct outfit that fits them, with also, like, their special weapon, their look, their gear. Like, that's how you make a G.I. Joe movie, not slick black and then throw in Marlon Wayans, because the kids will love the zany black dude, you know, and cast Channing Tatum because of his pubescent mustache. I'm in, you know. That says Duke, man, a guy who can't grow a damn mustache.
Hey, I take offense to that because I really can't either.
Yeah, but you don't have a pubescent mustache. Channing Tatum does. He's got those little blonde rat hairs on his face, and the girls just are all wet in the pants for this guy. Go to hell. No, Predator. You want a G.I. Joe movie? You either watch Predator or watch the Street Fighter movie with Van Damme. Like, because to me,
we made that connection.
Yeah. We got to do a commentary for that and just really hammer home like Ryu is Quick Kick, Destro is Sagat, and Zangief is like Big Boa. I mean, it's there. You could go all. Cammy is like Lady J or Scarlet, whichever one you want to pick. Spirit is a T-Hawk. You know, it's there's so many overlaps with G.I. Joe in the Street Fighter movie that it could. Yeah, I feel like someone at Hasbro had to get in. Stephen E. DeSoto's here, like, here, write this and do this too, or something.
That's what I'm saying. Someone hire this man. Let him be a consultant for your animated show or your movie ideas.
I will do it for free, simply because I just want to make sure. Not to say you do. If you're good at something, never do it for free. To quote Heath Ledger, I'm just saying I want to make sure that these great properties are treated with the respect and dignity that they deserve. They're still around for a reason, people here. We're not doing it because we're bored. It's because this stuff gave a lasting impression on our brains, and we never lost it. You know, it may have gone dormant for a while, like it did with Nathan, but I never let it go here. You know.
Well, before we go ahead and open up another can of worms, let's go ahead and wrap this up because we got less than half an hour for our latest episode.
Live again.
Our latest episode of Beyond Retro, which is going to be about Rocky IV. Speaking of global implications.
Yep.
I feel like that movie's almost as relevant today as it was back in the mid 80s.
Yeah, and the people love to kind of mock it for all of its political undertones and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? Why can't you just shut up and have fun watching a great boxing movie?
Yeah.
Everyone's got to try to find some problem with it or try to, you know, come out with some sort of, you know, humoristic look to it just so they make themselves look like they're a bunch of Donald Logues.
But we will we'll get into that in less than half an hour. So if you are new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you get notified when we go live. Check out the links down below. We have the Facebook page. We have the audio archive. So if you want to go back and download the various MP3s of all the shows that we've done, you have access to that. We got Joe's custom creations and his t-shirt. So if you guys would like to hit Joe up, kick him back a couple bucks and get yourself a awesome customized action figure, one of a kind, then hit him up. And Fans of Power. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start plugging that everything too. Go to the Fans of Power channel and give that a subscribe and ring the bell as well. It's the podcast dedicated to He-Man and the Master of the Universe, hosted by Tyler Baker himself right here, and the man behind the mask that will join us here shortly, Joe Amato. So yeah,
the man in the paper mask.
I was gonna last week. I was gonna when we did Fans of Power and I had to be on there. I meant to print that bootleg mask.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have had any color to it or anything. It would have looked like shit, and I would have just wore it for about 5 minutes, and then I would have taken it off.
It had been a great nod to I'm just the knockoff Joe Amato here.
Yeah.
So I have a knockoff mask, and I'm gonna do a knockoff performance of Joe Amato, and
I would be the faker.
Yeah, there you go, the faker Joe Amato. I love it. Well, Joe, we need Joe to bow out of another episode so that we can come in just so you could do that gimmick.
I think it'd be cool. I don't think
I
could wear that for an hour and a half though. There's no way.
No, and I don't know how Joe does that. Packs on with extra layers of flannel, and I don't know how he does it without having an IV hooked to him, and they keep fluid going into him all the time. God Almighty, man.
Anyway,
he needs to come up with a much more comfortable gimmick. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
I don't know what we'll come back with next week. I mean, we could always do another G.I. Joe episode. Do Thundercats.
Let's do Transformers.
All right, we'll do Transformers. Yeah, we haven't
done that yet.
Yeah, I said let's do well, we'll pick something from season 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look at it. Well, hell, you know what? Why don't you pick an episode? You let me pick the episodes. You want to do Transformers? You pick an episode from season 1 of Transformers, and
I'm gonna find the worst one.
That's gonna take you a long time to I don't see you putting it with or would you rather me? Because you'll know because I know you'll wait to the last minute. It's gonna be like Carrie Von Erich cutting a promo. We're cut, Carrie. We're in New Haven. You'll be wrestling the Honky Tonk Man. Go. Yeah.
JSP wanted. He brought this. Speaking of which, he brought this up. Transformers movie September 27th. Tyler, you're going to that, right?
Yep. Okay. I am. I got my ticket in advance.
Yeah, you have fun at that. What day is it? It's on a Thursday, so of course
it's on a Thursday. Yeah. Which I was surprised. I figured it was either gonna be because they always do like a Sunday and a Wednesday at 2 and 7. I don't know why, but yeah, I'll be going to that. I don't know. I'm contemplating whether to stay the whole time because once Megatron becomes Galvatron and kills Starscream, then I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't want to see Cup and Hot Rod and RC and the Junkticons. Like, so I may stay for the whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you should with the money put behind. Excuse me. Yeah.
I may do it. And then I could pretend to cry and get upset and go home and tell Mom, Optimus died, So because of that shit, that's why Duke doesn't officially die in the G.I. Joe movie because of all those boys crying to their moms. It makes me mad.
Grow a set. Be a man.
I know. Grow a set, you kids. Like, I'm glad they brought him back because of the crying kids, but because of the crying boys, we didn't get Duke because he says he's dead in that movie. All right. But because of all the boys, not growing a set, me, I was like Terry Funk, balls big enough to come in a dump truck. Even though I cried at the beginning of Willow and had to get up and leave.
Oh man, have you seen that clip when Terry Funk was doing the hardcore thing in WCW and they're going in that horse barn and they're right behind that horse and that horse like kicks him and he's just like, you motherfucker. I'm like, only Terry Funk would do that. I'll have to find that clip and send it to you. It's pretty good.
Yeah, her mother's a whore. Like that's how Bruce Pritchard's impression of everything Terry Funk is. Your mother's a whore. Yeah. Pritchard.
Anyway, on that note, thanks everyone for your eyes and your ears and for checking us out. And we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Kick ass, guys.
I need to find a catchphrase like Joe has where it's like, have a powerful day. We got to find like a little thing to throw out at
Joe's more wholesome though. So you got to, if you want, you got to do what Joe, you need to be wholesome, like a 1950s sitcom. Yeah.
No, I can't do that. It's not in my nature, sir. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time.